up, guys? Welcome back to Ball Talk. I am your host, Braden Wheeler, only with one guest today.
Dustin Arnold.
And another great day to talk about college football, getting closer to the end of the season. Not a lot of big games this week. Yeah, I mean, I watched a few of the games, but a few of the big games had pretty big impacts on the what's soon to be the playoff this year. But
Georgia beat Tennessee.
But that's the big one, and that's the big one that we're going to get to right out of the gates. Tennessee, Tennessee beats – or not Tennessee. Tennessee goes on the road, and their quarterback was a little bit banged up, but he started the game, Nico Iamaleava. And they dropped the game at Georgia by a score of 31-17. Georgia now moves up into playoff polls now, so now they're back up in the playoff discussion. Georgia absolutely had to have this game in order to still want to be in the playoffs, because with 3 losses, they would have been out.
Yeah. Dude, oh my gosh. I don't know what it is. I just don't like Carson Beck. I wanted to see Georgia lose that game, and the one time I was like, oh,
I feel like
there's no way they don't lose this.
I feel like with, like, any other quarterback, like most quarterbacks in the conference would do better than Carson Beck, because, like, Georgia's got they got some weapons around. They don't have as much weapons as they used to. Last year they had Brock Bowers. They had Ladd McConkey, and he did pretty well. They don't have that this year, and he's not doing too well. But I feel like any other quarterback at Georgia can make it work, at least, like, probably half the quarterbacks in the SEC.
I could see Carson Beck having, like, a Jimmy Garoppolo career.
Yeah, me too. It's like you start off as like a backup, but like you're mainly like a game manager. I feel like that's what he was.
Yeah, a game manager.
He put up solid stats last year, but I feel like for the most part, like, as you said, just game manager for the most part, and just
just like he's good enough to just do his part, get it to the playmakers. I really don't think he'll do too hot by himself.
Yeah, absolutely. He definitely needs some playmakers in order to succeed. It's not a bad thing to be a game manager. It's just you're not entirely a really good quarterback. But, like, I guess you can make some money doing that.
It's like a bridge quarterback career.
Yeah, for sure. At the beginning of this game, Tennessee got off to a 10-0 start. I really thought Tennessee was going to run away with this one after that, because Carson Beck was struggling a little bit in the first quarter. But after that, Georgia hit the gas pedal, and it's kind of like how the Ole Miss game went for them. Vice versa, Georgia started off hot in that game. Ole Miss held them to 3 points the rest of the game. It was really crazy, and big impact. So now there's a discussion if Tennessee should be in the playoff. I think they should, me personally, because they beat Alabama.
I agree. I think Tennessee should definitely be definitely in the playoff. I wouldn't say very high. I wouldn't say like top 5.
I agree,
but definitely in the playoff.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm not too high on Tennessee, but they had one bad loss, and it was at Arkansas. And if they didn't have that, they could be sitting pretty right now.
Now, what other games has Tennessee lost?
It's just Arkansas and Georgia. That's all they lost.
Really?
And it'd be different. It'd be different if Tennessee lost to Arkansas at home, but they didn't. They lost on the road at night. Everything was going right for Arkansas, especially defensively that night. So, Tennessee's only got 2 losses. A lot of teams, I said this the last podcast, there's a possibility that 6 teams could end this in a 10-2 tiebreaker in the SEC. That's depending on if Texas A&M beats Texas.
That's insane.
Which is going to be an insane game to watch here in about 2 weeks.
Because Texas has been looking hot, right?
Well, Texas, the argument with Texas is that they haven't played anybody.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're 11-1, and the only good team they played was Georgia, and they lost by 15 at home.
Ooh. Yeah,
their only good wins are at Vanderbilt and at Arkansas, which for a top 3 team like that, it's expected. You expect to win those games. It's not like those should be your top games. Now, a little bit of it hasn't really played in their favor, because they haven't really have been tested like other teams have throughout the course of the season. Now, they got tested against Georgia, but the schedule makers for Texas this year really gave them a good schedule to have for their first season if they wanted to have success.
Yeah, for sure. Almost like the easy way out.
Yeah,
to make Oklahoma they aren't looking nearly as good as Texas. And I have to say, like, Texas, yeah, I mean,
it is
they're
what
good.
it is. Yeah.
They're good to an extent. I don't know if Texas should sit in the top 5. They should be sitting around, I'd say, like 8,
Yeah,
8 or 9.
yeah. I think they're around the 8 or 9 range. Unfortunately, I don't think that we'll get to that point unless I think they gotta go on the road at College Station to play A&M. And if that game's at night, brother, I have A&M winning that game. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you right now, and that might put them out of the playoffs. I mean, you never know. They are, like I said, there's 6 teams. The SEC is competing for about 3 to 4 teams, and once we get to the conference championship, me personally, I don't know how the conference championship is going to look like because I mean 10-2 tiebreaker. It all depends on the SEC losses, but I think with that, A&M gets in the championship game and plays Alabama. I think because A&M only has one SEC loss, and that being at South Carolina. Now the loser of that SEC championship game probably might drop out. I'm not entirely sure how the committee is going to view that because at that point the loser will have 3 losses. But you can also make the argument that they're probably one of the best teams in the SEC still. But I don't know. It's going to be really intriguing to see if the SEC gets 3 spots, 4 spots. I mean, all depending on those scenarios in which the Texas and the A&M game happen. Or if things could get a lot easier this week if Ole Miss loses at Florida. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't think that's going to happen. But it would be really interesting to see how that plays out. Because if that happens, or if one of the other teams, let's say if Tennessee loses to Vanderbilt, which it could happen. Vanderbilt's a very feisty team, especially this year. You haven't been able to say that in years past.
Unpredictable. Yeah. Absolutely unpredictable.
Vandy's unpredictable this year. They beat the number 1 team in the country at that point in Alabama earlier this season. So, I mean, it's really interesting to see how things are going to end up in the SEC. As we go, we're going to go to the Big 12 here for a second. Number 14 BYU, who was undefeated, ended up dropping to 3-6. I think it was 3-6 Kansas by a score of 17-13. Now, I've thought this BYU team
should have been ranked as high as they were.
Yeah, I've always been sketchy of BYU because the Big 12, now that Texas and Oklahoma are
fraud.
Gone, it's not very good. Now, granted, if BYU wins out, they're in the college football playoff. But do I think they're going to win out? I think that they'll end up playing either Arizona State or Colorado, and I think one of those 2 teams will beat them. I specifically think Colorado is going to end up beating them. Mm-hmm. That's what I have at least because Colorado's got 2 losses. They're going to be 10-2, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, as much as people like to clown and hate on Colorado, it's an interesting team, of course. Travis Hunter.
Colorado, because they have Shadir Sanders is such a good quarterback. It's kind of like watching what's his name on Miami?
Tua.
No, Miami Hurricanes.
Oh, Cam Ward.
Cam Ward, yeah.
I thought you were talking about
NFL. It's like watching him because, like, I don't know anyone else on the Miami team offense.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
like I only know Cam Ward. I know that's how it is with Shadur Sanders in Colorado. I know. Ward. Obviously, I know
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter. Almost wanted to say Travis Kelce, but Travis Hunter, and then his brother. What was it?
Shiloh.
Shiloh Sanders.
Shiloh Sanders.
I barely remember their names. I just know, like.
Yeah, I think they're going to end up going to the playoffs.
I think they should. I want them to.
I want them to because, like, I want to see if the hype is real or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't really tell, like, if teams that are in the ACC or the Big 12 are really that good, which, I mean, I don't believe they are. I believe that if they were in this conference, they would be at most an 8-win team, especially with how difficult is the SEC, how difficult the SEC is, in my opinion. Like, for example, I'll say Mississippi State were horrible this year. If we were in the ACC or the Big 12, we could be probably bowl eligible right now, and that's with our defense being the worst in the country right now. But hey, I'm happy to be in the SEC though, best conference in the country. They'll probably end up getting the most They'll probably end up getting the most spots in the playoff as far as teams go. But yeah, I'm looking at all the rest of these games. Oregon avoided a scare this weekend. they went on the road against unranked Wisconsin and won 16-13. They were down 10-13 in the final few minutes. Dylan Gabriel led or it might have been 9. Dylan Gabriel led a touchdown drive to end up winning the game, and versus Wisconsin. He didn't really play well the first half of the game, but the second half he really
Dylan Gabriel
in the fourth quarter. Yeah, in the fourth quarter he really is when he really turned it on. He's like, hey, we got to get this win. There's no excuse to be losing to this team. Yeah. Not that they're bad or anything.
I love Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, very, very good player. And another game this week, South Carolina beats Missouri. South Carolina beat Missouri by a score of 34-30. Really good game, back and forth. Came down to the final minute. South Carolina ended up on top. Really offensive game. If South Carolina didn't choke away that game against LSU this year, or at the beginning of this year, they could potentially be a playoff team, which is crazy to say, I feel like. But
yeah, that's a safe pick.
Yeah. But as we're going to look into this next week. There's some big games next week, definitely probably bigger than this week. Number 5, Indiana goes on the road at number 2, Ohio State. Both of them are undefeated. Or no. Ohio State has 1 loss, and that was to Oregon. But that's going to be a really interesting game to watch. I have Ohio State, but you never know with Indiana. That's for sure, especially with how their season's gone. Yeah. But I think regardless of that game, I think both of those teams are probably going to end up getting in the playoff with how good they've been. Like I said, number 9 Ole Miss at Ford, another big game to watch for. If Ole Miss loses, they're out. And then 16 Colorado goes on the road to Kansas. Now Kansas just beat BYU. Now, I don't think that's going to happen this week. I think Colorado's going to.
I think Kansas they win just that random game.
There's always that random game they end up winning.
Yeah.
I mean, and then as far as that, there's no really other big games. I don't think. Army plays Notre Dame, but I think Notre Dame's going to end up winning that game. But really going to be interesting to watch for these next few weeks as far as playoffs and everything. But until next time, we hope you'll have a great day, and we'll see y'all later.
Later.